everyone, and welcome to our next session at the Future Founders Festival. I hope you enjoyed our earlier panel on Future Ready. And today we have a fantastic keynote speaker, Grace Wong, the co-founder of Liven, who is going to come and talk to us about all things about fintech and paying it forward and her journey as a founder. So I think I will pass over to Grace to do a quick introduction. So if you want to quickly introduce yourself, Grace, and then I'll let people know what to expect from the event.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna, for having me for this wonderful festivals. And I mean, I'm so great to be here. So my name is Grace, and I'm the co-founder of Liven, which is a super cool app that you all need to download, especially if you're in Australia, because everyone has to eat out and everyone eats. And it's an app that basically rewards you every time you pay to eat. And then you actually earn about 5 to 30% of rewards of your bill back as a cryptocurrency reward. And you can spend it back at many other restaurants. We work with Din Tai Fung, Coco Tea, probably my favorite bubble tea chain, and Messina, Gelato Messina, New Shanghai, Papa Rich. We just got thousands of premium brands that work with us. And then every time you earn, you'll be able to use it back again at restaurants, or you can donate it to charity, or you can send it to your friends, or you could also sell it to someone else in the outside of the market.
Fantastic, Grace. Great scene setting so that people can learn a little bit more about Liven. And over the course of this session, we'll find out more about Grace and the Liven journey over the last 5 years. So I'm going to ask Grace some questions about what it was like starting off 5 years ago, coming to Australia as an international student, some of her tips and tricks and business advice, maybe things that she wished she'd known when she was at your stage of business development. And we'll talk a little bit about tech businesses and Liven in particular as well. But you have every opportunity to ask questions. It's really special that we've got this time with Grace. So please add your questions to Slido. Head over there, use the hashtag Future Founders Festival, and you can pop your questions in there. And we will answer as many as we can during the course of this session. So Grace, to kick things off then, tell us a little bit about your journey coming to study in Melbourne, not having originally been here, being an international student. How did you find it when you first came here?
Yeah, it's been a while back, but then I remember my brother and I were both very fortunate to be studying in Melbourne, because Melbourne has many universities that are top ranked in the world, and my parents did not make it not known to us that is our privilege to be here and then be able to study at the most renowned universities. And my brother went to Monash Uni, and he was doing legal study there, and he's doing his law and arts there. And then I thought, Melbourne Uni was much better one because it ranked higher. So I went for Melbourne Uni instead, and we used to have all this quarrel between whose uni is better than,
a little bit of competitiveness,
but then
rivalry.
Yeah, but I was originally wanted to be a doctor, but then because Asian parents, you can imagine it's either a doctor, it's all
doctor, lawyer.
Yeah, very cliche. But my mom, particularly, she is the biggest source of inspiration for everything I did in my life from the beginning to even today. And my mom is not a typical Asian mommy. And as much as she had all the side of the Asian mom side, she also had a lot of other side that typical Asian moms don't have, like, giving advices from the beginning that we need to be growing up as the future generation that change the world and think really big and dream really large. Because when you wake up in the morning, your dream's always broken, and so you have to dream really large, because even when it's broken, the broken pieces are still really large. And then she always told us, in the era when she was growing up, that's not the time. Woman wasn't that recognized as much as they should be, even when you are, let's say, in my mom's case, PhD in mathematics. So, but she couldn't do what she wanted to do, change the world. So she wanted us to be changing the world in a way so she can vicariously live her dream and mission through us. So we grew up with the mindset that we were chosen to be the one doing that. And I never doubt a single second that I wasn't the chosen one. So I read about Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates every day when I grew up. But then for some reason, my mom also told us you have to go to university. So that's why you either choose the doctor or lawyer. And then my brother told me, choose the legal study. And I remember as an international student, it wasn't easy for me. Like, English was already hard for me anyway. And then my fellow peer law students, they were struggling to understand how to interpret the cases that back 18th centuries. And I'm like, well, if they are struggling, what about me? But I went go, okay. So my mom told me, well, your friends are running because they are the top students of the top university and doing law studies. So if you can't run as much as them, you have to fly. And I'm like, how do I fly? I don't have a wing. And then mom's like, well, mom is the wing. So she cooked for me. She brought lunches to my university every day. Wow. So I could focus on study. So I graduated with honors, and I think I feel very fortunate. But yeah, it was very tough because English was language barrier was very important when you were in doing exams and things like that. So I had to obviously work harder than others, 10 times harder. But finally graduated, and then I worked very hard, and then I went to law school. Law firm, worked as a solicitor for 2 years, but then I ditched it and then start Liven.
Yeah, so then everything changed. So it sounded like you had an incredible support network there with your mom, which necessary because it sounds like it was a tough ride. What changed then after that 2 years? What was the point that you said, startups, I'm gonna do this for myself?
Yeah, because I always knew that I have to go and one day change the world. But I tried being lawyer, and then it wasn't what I thought it was. As much as every Asian parents think it's a prestige of thing to become a lawyer, I felt like it's more like a glorified version of a janitor. You just help solving problems that are not really global scale. And I'm like, but I am ready. Like, I feel that my potential could be better used in solving real world challenge problems that are global. So, and I wasn't adding any value. I wasn't creating any value. I felt like I was just moving the values around. So I talked to my brother, and then my brother and I were playing games a lot in our young time, when we were like teenagers. And by that time, my brother was studying. My brother was practicing. He was 6 to 7 years into being lawyer. I think he also sort of fed up feeling the same thing. His mental bank, he was saying his financial bank was rising, but his mental and then the emotional bank balance is going down. And then he felt that like he could do something, bigger. And then then he told me I wasn't good enough for a lawyer anyway. So we went like, okay, then what do we do next? And this is very important. I will like to give advice later when I talk about more on the how do you actually start the business. We already knew exactly what we needed to do, which is creating a meritocratic society where individuals advance based on purely on their merits and not because of their wealth or social status or any power, your dad or mom or anything like that. And that was very important for my mom because my mom came from very poor background, but she excelled in everything. But even then, she couldn't shine as much as she should have been. So I wanted to show to mom that even though I'm female and I'm disadvantaged as an international student, I am born to be the person who is doing this. But when I think about this problem, it's hard. Like, it's just not possible to do what like I am dreaming. So, but then I looked at Richard Branson one day, and then he said, if your dream doesn't scare you, then you don't have a dream. And I went, oh my God. So my dream, it's right to have. So because it's scary.
Yeah.
So then how do I do this? And then I realized that, well, technology seemed to be the only way to do this. Mm-hmm. And so I kept deeply studying this science of money, because I feel like, we start with the poverty, get rid of hunger and get rid of poverty on the humanity's basic needs. We need to create balance around that area first if we want to create a meritocratic society. So financial inclusion was a big part of what I wanted to create in this world. And why? So I start digging up more onto the topic of where is money coming from? What is money? Why do we need money? And how do you create it? So, all that. And then we come up with, this grand vision of tokenizing food into money. And then, but then what do you do after that? But I think this kind of having this big mission from the get-go. And I also wanted to make sure that we want to create a world where we be able to share the value across the world on a merit basis. So it was very important for us that we have a mission-driven company from the beginning. So we, as a lawyers, as always we do, the first thing we did, we went and patented this save and donate kind of concept where you pay forward whatever you get. Because if everyone does the same thing, we believe the world will get better and be, much better place. So, but now I know that patent doesn't mean anything.
But the purpose does. That's critically important. It seems that that to have something that you wake up in the morning and you've got a mission to drive towards, because then some of the details of your business, I would imagine, they might change and shift and pivot a little bit along the way, but you've always got that purpose that you're driving towards.
Yes. Purpose is the number one important thing when you have your own business, because it's what drives you every day. And this startup world is crazy challenging. If anyone say they understand, then you don't know until you do it. So every day, and I think you just have to love this challenge, and that's why you love this challenge. But you need to have a purpose, because otherwise you will just break.
So that's a great first top tip there from Grace Wong, which is to really drill into what is the purpose of your business? What is it that fundamentally you want to achieve, not just for your business, but for you personally? What drives you?
Yes.
So is that something that was really, that sounds like that was really clear to you from the beginning, that moving the value around, really having a business that was going to work towards having this huge dream about equality in our society. That was, how did you have that self-awareness to know that this was what you needed to put front and center?
I think I was very fortunate to have mom like my mom. And I can't always say enough about my mom, who is my source of inspiration in everything I do. But not many people, when I did this business and from the 5 years ago, I thought everyone had the similar kind of bring up. But not everyone found their purpose by the age of, let's say, 20 or something. They were still hungry for something. They know that they have a superpower, but they still haven't met and found their purpose in life and mission. Yeah. And I think it's easy to find it, because, what do you actually want in life? Why do you live every day? And it's a question that you can ask every day to yourself, and not every day, if you ask, you find it. And often you might just go, oh, maybe I want to be very rich, like, but that's not it. Because if you look at so many people, that doesn't bring you happiness. So many people, and for me, I'm just very lucky that I realized it much earlier, but a lot of people don't. And I think that's why it's very important to go back into the four corners of pillars of happiness, that to make yourself happy, you need to find purpose, and then you have to be having the sense of belongings and what makes you very excited. And then, so if you go through that kind of process, I think, and then some sort of event sometimes give you purpose as well. Maybe lost your, parents or something, whatever it is. But without all that, I think if you keep asking yourself, and then always remember to stand greater than yourself. It's another very important concept. Whatever your personal goal is, and then add to it, and then why I want it, and but what do I want for the world to be like, and then how do I drive and become the change maker that is at the frontier, and then being the leader of this movement that I want to create. And my advisor always tell me, who is Bill Tai, 5 years ago, even until 5 years ago, if the company doesn't have any mission, you used to have an advantage over a company that does have a mission, because it's something else on top of whatever the company is doing. So it more like hinders the growth of the company. But now, today, if you can statistically see that every mission-driven companies are doing far better than the ones without the mission-driven purpose, because people don't anymore buy from you, don't anymore care for your business, and talents don't come to work for your business if your business do not stand something for greater than its own, whatever it does. So it's very important to find that from your own personal level, but on a company level as well.
And that sets really strong foundations for your business for the long haul. And so as you go through the ups and downs of starting up that business and the practicalities. So that brings us, Grace, that's a really good moment to start to delve into the how then. We've got our purpose, we've got our mission, we know what wakes us up and makes us happy in the morning. We know what change we want to see in the world. How do you get started? What's the first thing? What do you wish you'd known when you were first kicking off about where you put your time and your energy and any money you might have?
Yes, I remember when we first, I think looking back, I'm quite proud of what my brother and I have done. We worked so hard to become lawyer first and put so much energy just to throw it away all in the bucket for me in 2 years' time. It's one of the proud moments for me. But then if I think what could have done better, I regret that I should have ditched my entire law study even, and then jump into this entrepreneurship much earlier. But I don't have a regret, in the sense that I love seeing every time silver lining in everything happening around you. It's actually an ability that you have to acquire. It's not something that you are born with. So I used to be a kind of person who are very ambitious, but then not have enough gratitude. And this wasn't so good character of myself, in the sense that I felt like I'm not good enough, and then always like not so happy with what I am. And why I am like, I wasn't born into like Australia, for example, and then now looking back, like my language, like, everyone tells me it's actually endearing to hear me speaking, and then I'm just unique. And then being female as well, everyone says, oh, female founder, you may be having a hard time. Really? Like in practical world, when I walk into, let's say, a blockchain world, I'm the only one, and I used to be, but now there's many female people in blockchain too. And then I'm the star. Everybody wanted to talk to me, because and then I don't have to work hard. People come to me and I talk. So I realized that you just at the start find your superpower. What are you good at? What are you not good at? And then sometimes you don't actually know where your superpower is. So back in the days, we just knew that we had to start, but then we don't know how to build a tech company. So I just asked around everyone I know, and we found the first, our tech co-founder from someone who who knows and knows. It's like a three leg. And then I don't even, by that time, this person have no idea of my friend. They don't even know my friend.
Yeah.
But we found it. And then worked through it. And then we just went, but then we couldn't tell my parents that we ditched our career altogether. So for almost 1.5 years, we worked undercover. So at nighttime, we wake up and then we will work and then we go back to sleep again. And then I will hit the road and then I will go to every restaurant that I ate before. Mm-hmm. And then this time I went there to talk to the restaurant owners, not to eat. And then I had to only go to them when it's like a nighttime or Sunday and weekends. And that's the time they hate me coming, because they are like, Grace, rule number 1, if you want to talk to the owners of hospitality, do not come on weekends. But we only had the weekend. So that kind of resilience of like first-hand experience is very important when you start the business. And the Airbnb founder actually told us that, it's a privilege when you start the business to really be hands-on in everything you want to create and do it all yourself, and then do the things that is not unscalable once yourself first. And don't try to always think about, I need to make it scalable. If I actually go to one by one, then it's too late. Not really true. Unless you've been to 2,000 restaurants on your own and spoke to every single one of them, you don't know what they want. And then you'll just rely on someone else's information. I went to every restaurant in Melbourne, knock on the door and got told F off every time. But every time I get told like that, I feel actually excited, because I'm going, oh, did you tell me no? Why? My product is amazing. I created just for you. So what is it that you don't like about it? So I keep learning and reiterating the product. And so another practical advice I would give is like, don't think you know the answer before you launch the product. Something that I made a mistake of, because I'm a perfectionist. I used to be very much of a perfectionist. So until the design is perfect, I'm like, we can't release it. It's too embarrassing. Everyone's gonna laugh at it. But then, nothing happens. Like, it doesn't matter. So you just, if you launch something when you feel great, you launched it too late. Just launch it when you feel so embarrassed. Then actually that's when the right time is. And then we keep reiterating. And I remember one of the speakers for this festival actually is Bryce. He came to me when I was speaking at some other panel, and then he told me, Grace, when Liven was launched, I downloaded it and it was so shit, so I deleted it. and so I'm like, yeah, but are you using it again? And I'm loving it now. So see, so you will at the beginning have a lot of people you lose as well, but don't worry, they will come back, because they are the first generation of people with early adopters, but early adopters also come back. So that's that phase. So don't worry about it. Just launch it and then stick to your vision and mission. But then also have the ability to ride a big waves, because you're too small, so you can't create your own wave. Only big companies like Facebook and Google can create the wave. But it is how you know where you want to go, because if you don't know where you want to go, then you just ride the wave for the sake of it, and you think you are going really fast. But then when the wave is not there, you die. So you really need to know where you're going and use the wave, meaning like whenever there's some sort of a trends coming, you could take the trends and then opportunities, but do not bank on yourself or create the product around it, but have your own vision. And remember also technology changes as well. So important to know, like blockchain is one example. There's many types of blockchain out there. And so you do not build your business around blockchain itself, but you build your business around real pain problem solving, real world. What is the restaurant owners want? What is the people want? What is the society want? How do we make the world a better place? And then also technology, also to remember that when you start, technology is actually sometimes the easiest solution to create, especially nowadays. I mean, back in 5 years ago, it was not easy to create an app, but these days, anyone can create an app. Anyone can create a website. It's not even a skill. So when we're getting into this sort of a feature parity, what is it that number one thing that really sets you apart from every other new startups that are coming up? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What it is it's the mission that you're banking on, and then what the clear idea of what you want to do, and then find the right talent. It's like, that's another mistake that I've made. I didn't think it was that important, but I guess number one important thing when you start the business, it's not money, finding money. It's not an idea. It's not ideas. It's none of it. It's building the culture and finding the right people. And sometimes, like myself, I did it a little bit late because but luckily I had a great talent, like my brother, and then my co-founders. But if you're not lucky enough, like myself, to have a amazing brother like myself, then you have to go and headhunt the talent. Yeah. And then talent that unlocks your own superpower. So it's so important, because if you have amazing culture, so culture is something that exists when the founders are not around. So when you're not around, what's it like in your office? So if you create that amazing culture and the cult following kind of environment, then you're set. Your business is a globally scalable. But you can't have a globally scalable business if you don't have the right talent and right culture. So find the right people, and money comes if you find them. And
understanding your own strengths, looking for the gaps, and then working out, what do I need in a co-founder? What skills do they need to bring? And what do I need in a team that I might hire? So that sounds like really critical advice to be able to understand properly and honestly what those skills are. That's great advice.
And I think another thing is networking would be another, I think, practical advice, even though people say, meet a lot of people, but I think people don't understand the real purpose of networking. Networking doesn't mean, I've seen so many people doing this thing, just go to an event and talk to everyone, and then just collect the email address or phone numbers, and then that's Nothing. It's not. You can talk to millions of people, but if you do not know how to connect with people and then create a valuable connection out of it, then it's a waste of time. So I think another important thing is a couple of real tips I can give is be genuine. And then usually when you go into this kind of event, you must be so confident in yourself. You just have to have the aura and shine through. People, when they meet you, they just want to know you. Why? And then have this confidence that you might be like, yeah, this person have done it already, but I haven't even done anything. I'm just new. Then why would this person want to talk to me when I have nothing to give back? You might feel that, but not true, because even I already feel a bit nervous about the future entrepreneurs, because I was one of them. I was the hungry person who come to the event, have nothing, I haven't done anything, don't know anything, but I build things. So for me, I'm looking for if I see someone, I'm not judging them by what they have done before and whatever. It's about the confidence in their eyes. You can actually have it in their eyes, and it's something that you can't fake it. So that's why I think it's really important to create that confidence and have that mindset that everyone can tell you that you can't do whatever, but you need to know yourself that you are the one. And if you do, then people will just believe it. Then you can talk to Richard Branson, and I just talked to Richard Branson. I talked to the executive of Libra for Facebook, and then she told me, well, Grace, why don't you pitch to me? We should buy your business. And I'm like, no fucking way. I'm gonna buy Facebook. Just wait. And then then she ended up being my investor. And I also told Richard that I'm gonna be changing the world just like the way he has done. And then so you can have an exactly level up conversation with some of the world changing leaders, because they also went through your experience. So they adore you, and they really adore you, and then they want to help you grow, because they're at their time, they're going always, how do I make sure I make a ripple impact to the world? And the only way they can do is by empowering other founders, other young talents to do the same that they have done.
So there is help and support out there if you can hone those skills early of networking and connecting with people, and really crucially, not just talking to them, but listening to what
and just create that strong connection by having the conversation, and don't forget to talk to them. And if they don't reply to you, another thing is it's not because they are rude. The people are busy. So a lot of times people are, I talk to them, I send them email and I send them message, they don't reply. No, do it again, and do it differently again and again. Because even you, how many times you ignored your friends' messages? We all do. We're all busy. So don't worry about that kind of things, and then just keep hustling is another practical advice.
And know your business pitch as well. Be able to get straight in there. I think Grace, one of Grace's job titles is Chief Evangelist for Liven. So be out there talking about your business, being positive, and you never know what's going to come back. Speaking of listening, there's plenty of opportunity for you to all ask questions. So if you head over to Slido and use the hashtag Future Founders Festival, you can pop your questions in there, and I can put them to Grace directly. There's also the YouTube chat, so if you can't get into Slido for whatever reason, you can stick it in the YouTube chat and we can ask from there as well. So Grace, it's constantly listening, working out how you're going to shift. Now is a pretty difficult time in hospitality world. So how have things been in a post-COVID world for Liven? What have you and your co-founder had to really work through at the moment?
Yeah, so pandemic through an entire curveball to hospitality industry, and this is an industry that I care so much about. And then it was painful to see my restaurant partners going through a bad experience. I mean, not experience as in bad, hard timing. And it's unfortunate that they got hit the most and very unfair manner, and they haven't done anything wrong. And it's also the spirit of what makes Melbourne the most great city in the whole world. So it's heartbreaking, but I'm very fortunate that I'm in a space where it's very flexible. We are the builders of innovation, and we are at a forefront of building the future and reinventing the way the future works. So we're not the guys who are predicting what's going to happen. We rather just invent the future. So when the pandemic hit, we went, okay, it's exciting because the world has changed, and in a way that and apparently never have been in the many 100 years ago. Never happened in the entire hospitality history. So I found it exciting because it's like challenge for me. I love challenges. Then we put on our hats and then looking at the silver lining, and then the old saying of where there is a high risk, there's a lot of opportunity, and never waste a crisis. So we went, okay, so the real world is not connected, and then like the way online world is, and when the mobility doesn't work and people cannot actually physically go to restaurant, then what else can we do for the restaurant owners? So we shipped out so many different products that are designed for restaurants to survive this time, and not only survive but thrive when the post-pandemic is coming, and which is almost there already. So throughout the pandemic time, we launched this thing called care packages, where consumers can help their restaurants to survive by buying up their restaurants' money, so restaurant currency. And then so we created not only the ecosystem level currency, which is LVN, so that is a currency that is applied to literally the whole ecosystem, but then these currencies are locked to just the particular brands. And it's more like if you analogize to USD currency, and then maybe Indonesian currency, a bit more smaller, like that. And then we also underwrite all the currencies. So we provide the guarantee saying that if any time any restaurant does fall off, don't worry, your money will be safe, because you can move it to, because it's interoperable and it's fungible. So you can move it to other restaurants, other things, and Liven will 100% guarantee it. So go please support your favorite local cafes. And because if you do now, they will probably survive and thrive later. And this was launched during pandemic. And what we have achieved is not only ability for the consumers to show the support, and then they also get lots of bonus upfront as well. So we, for example, if they buy $100, they get $150 worth of credit, like that. And the restaurants are very thankful that the customers are giving them money upfront now to be spending it later. But we actually showed a behavioral change to the restaurant owners as well. People actually spend more money, and then they dine more. And then even during pandemic, so that was fantastic to see. We also created a mechanism where a COVID check-in is happening everywhere, but there's not a smooth way of it really check-in. You still see pen and papers.
You've got to try things, I guess.
Yeah. And so we just launched our thing called Liven Passport. It's an ultimate foodie ID, where you've got the passport as well as your digital wallet. So you load up your all different currencies, your food currencies. I have in my wallet, I have a Din Tai Fung, Messina, all different currencies, as well as my ID. And when I walk into a restaurant, I just show, then I walk in. I don't need to write anything else. So it's working so well at the moment. And so we are very excited that this pandemic not only made us stronger, but it made the restaurant partners stronger and wiser as well. Yeah. Because the hospitality has been driven by the old concept, and in so many ways it was broken. And they were still paying 35% commission to delivery here and delivery that, and that was hurting them. But they don't know anything else when time was right. But these days, they're all equipped, and they're very smart now. So I'm very excited for the next year of this.
So it sounds that the way that you've really connected and found value and a way to support your customers during COVID is really to, again, understand their problem and show a way to add some value and support them. That's great. We've got about another 10 or 12 minutes left with Grace, and we've got the questions coming in through the Slido. We've got a couple of questions really about working with co-founders. And obviously you've got your co-founder as your family member. So, I mean, is that something that you'd recommend? And how do you go about with your co-founder, possibly especially tricky with a family member, deciding who does what and whether you've got, is it fair? How do you work together and play to your strengths? How did you and David work that out? Yeah,
it's very interesting that this question is always the only thing that being asked every time. So I guess there are a lot of people who wants to start business with their brother or sister or mom and dad, whatever it is, but then maybe not working out so well. But for me, I'm very fortunate again to say we were brought up under one mom and one great mom, and then given us the same mentorship, and happened to be that William and I, we have shared same blood type, and then have a very similar mindset, but then two very unique skill set as well. But I think this combination is hard to come, and it's very lucky that we do have this. And so if you do have the same kind of mindset and similar persistence, then I think it's the most magical combination ever. It's better than husband and wife, because investors usually worry like, what if you guys break up? But I don't think I can break up really with my brother. I tried it for a million times. We had like quarrel every day, we fight, but the next day we just talk again as if nothing happens. There are times I feel like we should really talk about it, but we just always have that one driven mission that this is why we're doing it. And every time, and then it makes me very easy to give feedback, very harsh feedback, whatever. I don't have to sugarcoat it. I don't have to be in sandwich between, all that. I can just say whatever. So it's easy. So if it's like,
that's a really important point for our audience, and it's hard to do. Having open conversations, really honest, really hard, difficult conversations. The more you can practice that, let go of any bad feeling that it gives you, the more it'll help you when you're talking with your co-founders or when you're talking with your customers and listening to their feedback. So,
but if you feel that other family member is not really similar aligned, then don't do it, because you're gonna just destroy your family relationship, and it's actually nasty. So you just have to see whether your sister or brother has similar persistence, and then vision and mission aligned, and then also dream aligned. Then the skill set, whether you are much better, smart or whatever, that doesn't matter actually, because between the family members, we never talk about who contribute most and who contribute less. We don't have that kind of problem. But if the mission is not aligned, and then if you don't have the similar resistance, and when you go through things, then it's a problem. So yeah.
And we've had a question come in, how can we improve ourselves as a team so that investors would be interested? And I think, you just mentioned investors, looking at husband and wife teams or married partner teams and thinking, oh, maybe there's a risk there that they could split up. Investors are looking at the strength of the team as well as the strength of the mission, aren't they?
Yeah. So at all time, mission, but more importantly, team. But team is like, I mentioned that just like in a general sense, they are wondering, oh, what if, but it's not like, it's if you're husband and wife and then the investor don't invest in you, it's not because you're husband and wife. It's actually not the case. It's just you haven't shown them enough that your mission and why it has to be your wife, enough. But I think it's very important to build your team who actually follows your dream, and then not your dream. So another important thing is the other party's dream has to be same as yours. So they live their own dream and not your dream, and they're working for you. So if you create that kind of environment, then the investor can actually see that. And if they can be convinced that, okay, that person is not working for you, but that person is doing it for his own dream as well, then you don't care. It doesn't matter if it break up or what, it will work out. So I think very critical that you find the right talent, and then talent meaning technical skill, very important. If it's a world-changing technology company like mine, then technical co-founder is super important. But if it's not really, then I guess whatever it is, the talent is very important. If you are not already the super talent yourself, and in my case, I didn't know anything much about the computer world, and in fact, but then I relied on my brother, who was very much of a computer programmer. So we had that advantage. But then I didn't know that I was very good at sales and then, marketing. And I figured out during the whole journey. So
and in terms of helping you figure that out, there's co-founders, there's the feedback you get from customers, but what about mentorship? You mentioned that you've got, I think you mentioned earlier that you got a mentor or a coach or someone that you
So for me, it's Burkey, and Burkey is a guy who was a seed investor to Canva, and he's the reason Melanie Perkins is where she is today. And he gave her a lot of tough challenges at the beginning. And then she couldn't, until she finds the co-founder, the tech co-founder, he won't give her the money. So she spent one whole year to find the co-founder, just to get money and all that cool stories. And I was the one who was reading her stories. And then I went, oh my God. And then he also works with Richard Branson. So I was going, okay, Richard Branson is the guy that I want to be working with. And then I set the goal like that. And then it just happened because life is plenty of opportunities always around you. But if you're not ready and you don't know that it was next to you, then you let it go, and then don't and then you think like, oh, why am I not lucky? It's not true. So for me, because I set my targets and goals, so when I meet Bill Tai, I recognize him, I know exactly what to say, and then I have a conversation that, I've been following you and blah blah, and then these guys Bill Tai is one of my most number one mentor, and his 3 things that he stands for is critically important to me, and also shape the way I run my business, because he shares the same values and that my mom has told me. So the 3 things are: stand something greater than for yourself, so which is what I already said, and then use your superpower to unlock other people's superpower. So we all have superpowers, but if we don't use it together, then we might not be powerful on our own. But when it's like a chemical reaction. If you put them together, something powerful reaction happens, and then leave the world better than when you entered. So that is more to do with the legacy. What do you want to do when you are leaving, so that when you do go away, the world is always better than when you entered? And these 3 things actually shapes the way I build my culture, the way I build my products. Literally every product I build, everything I build for businesses, anything that I build for consumers, I use this value lens around that. How to be always an open source, and open source is a big thing that I also care about. So yeah, mentorship I think is very important, but find the right mentor for you, because there's so many mentors out there. But I guess that's why it's very important. Find your own purpose, your mission, then you can find the person who shares your same or be inspired, and then that person will guide you through it, and then the universe will just shine, and then all the right people all comes, and then money is not a problem anymore. But at the beginning, it's very challenging. I understand, because I was there, but just persist, really, and don't give up. There's no easy way, because if it was easy, then everybody would have done it. So it's not easy, but use your disadvantage as an advantage. So like I did, I used my female as being an advantage, and my lack of good English back then was as an advantage. But I know that if I don't have this, but I am smart in somewhere else, and so the way I walk around, how I work, so I would not call people, because over the phone they don't know. Maybe they think I am stupid. So I had to walk into every restaurant, because when they see me, they can see my passion. But over phone, I couldn't carry my passion through it. So,
and I think that passion comes through so strongly. And so we had a question come in about whether there were any plans to expand internationally. But given the size of your dream and that mission to change the world, I have no doubt that we will see Liven grow and change and appear all around the world. So I think as well that openness and that generosity that you talked about there, Grace, is something that has characterized this fantastic session, which is drawing to a close now. So thank you very much to everyone who had questions there and wanted to learn more about Grace's startup journey and how that might apply to your own journey. As Grace has said, it's a tough ride, but bring that energy, bring that belief in yourself, listen to your customers, understand and get out there and build some networks. So thank you so much, Grace, for spending that time and giving us your insights. I think it was just a fantastic session. And for all of you out there, we are now moving to a lunch break. So you've got a little bit of time to digest all of those thoughts from Grace.
One last thing I wanted to say is
one last piece of advice from Grace.
I mean, just because we are globally expanding to literally everywhere. I need lots of talents, and then I need 100x engineers. I need every other cool people out there, marketers, growth hackers. So please come and join our mission. If you are one of the same person who wants to create the world that I was talking about, where internet has been designed to move the value, not information around, but not the values. But blockchain is the way that's designed to move the values. And we want to be able to tokenize food and move the value around the world. So every part of the world, we do not have hunger, we don't have poverty, and we create meritocratic society. So I'm hiring. So anyone out there want to join me?
If you head to the speakers page on the Future Founders website, you can see that there's on Grace's page, you'll see that there's little icons for her LinkedIn and other social media channels so that you can get in touch with Grace and maybe become part of the Liven mission.
Okay.
And Grace is doing a fantastic example there as well of using every opportunity possible to expand her network. So she's putting into practice exactly what she's preaching there. So thank you. Thank you so much, Grace. So please join me in thanking Grace Wong.
Yes.